Hello everyone. After like 20 tries, I will just go with it. Thank you so much for the support that you have been giving me lately. Today I bring you FireScorpio. He takes these fancy screenshots and turns them into posters. I think you will really enjoy hearing about the process behind those and what got him started in all of this right after the intro. So,
That's pretty cool.
what do you know about the questions that I'm about to do to you?
Actually, I have no idea. Like, we've been talking a little bit before this, and whenever I go near a subject, you're like, nope, stop it. Let's just go on with it. And I'm just curious. You've mentioned a couple of things, like you've been scouring the online presence and everything. I'm like, okay, like you're doing actually your homework, which gets me a little nervous because I don't know what you're gonna bring up. So that's actually
And let me just
it's quite interesting.
and let me just tell you that preparing your questions was actually really hard because you are so open about everything on your Insta stories. So it's really hard to try. I like to make like hard questions that get people uncomfortable, but it was really hard to come up with one because you are so open with everything. Like you have no filter on your Instagram stories.
I actually that's a part of the evolution of the plan I had with the account, right? When I started the account, I was just as every VP, right? Like very reserved. It's just about the craft. But then I realized that I can't do this without actually putting myself there. And I used a buffer between myself and the audience, and I created this character that's Fire Scorpio, this larger than life persona, this guy that's almost an asshole sometimes, right? And it's he carries the weaknesses that I can't as myself, right? And somewhere along the line started blurring, and I just said, like, it's me. Like, I gotta be me in order to enjoy this, because there was a lot of things I didn't enjoy about that. So that's when I became like uh more open and talking more about my life and my struggles, because at the end that's what I try to reflect on. I mean, it's silly video game photography, I know, but still, like, there's a lot of emotionality that goes into creating images and concepts and sets and whatnot, and inevitably, you have to like get into the vibe of it, and just treat it as art, right? As you would do any other type of thing. So that's why I tend to be more open with myself and who I am, and show my face and whatever.
Yeah, but it's curious because something that I'm struggling with is it's finding virtual photographers that put their face out there. Most don't. But my first question, you actually just went on a little bit about my first question about your character, the Fire Scorpio character. Why the name? Why the name Fire Scorpio?
It's actually quite interesting. It's actually quite a fun story. Fire Scorpio has been my online moniker since like forever. Since actually the day it was born, it was the day Final Fantasy 11 was released, which is over
Ooh.
12 years ago. I've been Fire Scorpio for, I don't know, like more than 10 years. And the origin of it, there's this game called Devil Kings, better known today as an anime called Sengoku Basara,
Okay.
which is it's basically a Dynasty Warriors type esque game, like hack and slash, hordes of enemies.
Yeah.
But there's this particular character there, right? There's a short dragon and Scorpio. Just Scorpio, right? Scorpio is a guy like this really boastful guy who's the second in command to the a big ox guy that's like the general, like the stoic like big general. And Scorpio is just this guy who he's your shonen main character.
Yeah.
He's boisterous, he wants to be the best, and he has his rival Asher Dragon, which is a blue samurai, and he's like a red Naginata fiery weapon guy, right?
It's the
So I really like.
Vegeta of the whole thing, the rival.
Yeah, actually, Asher Dragon is Vegeta and
Y-
Scorpio is the Goku
Yeah,
of
like
right?
every anime
Yeah,
out there.
exactly. So I really dug that character. I really dug everything. So I really like Scorpio. And as a teenager, I was like, but he uses fire attacks, so I'm gonna be FireScorpio. And it's simply how it was born. If anything, the character is inspired as Scorpio himself from the Devil King's game, which is a PlayStation 2 obscure weird game. Nobody knows about it, but that's where when FireScorpio
Actually,
was born.
my name is like the dot in dot pwn. It's
Uh-huh.
from an obscure PS2 game called Dot Hack. So yeah,
Oh, of course, that hack,
yeah, it's from
right?
that.
Like that hack. Yeah, but I fucking love that game.
Yeah, it's
You
really
know, like,
expensive to find the original ones for the PS2,
yeah,
and
I actually have one there.
if you sell it, you're rich. Like the first, like the first four games, the mutation, sign, infection
I
thing.
have the first one, the one that has a white cover with
Yeah, I
a
think
girl
that's
with a white hair.
mutation. That's like the least expensive and the easiest to find. As you go to the fourth, it's the numbers on eBay are crazy. Like $200 for a
Oh,
PS2 game. Yeah.
that's funny because I'm actually a big dot hack everything fan. Like I love hack GU.
Yeah, I'm
It's just fucking
understanding
great.
that we are both fans of JRPGs and animes, and it's actually
Yeah,
something that we never talked about.
we've never talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, so we before the show you touched on this, but you have previous experience on graphic design, photography, cinematography. If I'm not mistaken, you are
Yes.
actually a graphic designer for a living.
Yes, actually, I do both.
Okay.
I have two majors. One is graphic design, and another is cinematography. Film, right?
Yeah.
Film in general, not cinematography. Like I studied film, and I the only one that I actually finished, and I have like the diploma for is graphic design. Film I didn't finish because of personal reasons and whatnot, but I still went through the 4 years of school with it. Um, the thing is, yes, that's what I bring to the table when I do BP. Is this sort of professional approach to it, both in composition, in terms of composition, and what I look for my images to look for. And since I do graphic design, the reason I studied graphic design is because I'm in love with movie posters. It was one of my biggest inspirations growing up. I used to love movie posters. One of my most favorite movie posters of all time, of course, is the Star Wars, which I'm actually wearing right now in my T-shirt.
But the
Um,
original one or like the
you
trilogy?
know,
Oh
no,
yeah,
the
that one.
Luke,
Yeah.
Luke holding the lightsaber up. Like that's an iconic movie poster. Blade Runner's movie poster is another iconic one, and I can mention westerns and Akira Kurosawa's posters are iconic too. Like old monster movies posters, Pulp Fiction posters, right? Like I love the idea of that, and that's why I studied graphic design. That's the only reason I actually studied graphic design, and it's been my passion ever since. Like ever since I knew I was good at one thing in graphic design, and that's poster making. And that's why my shots are all vertical because I always envision them as movie posters.
That was going to be one of the questions.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
I'm
That's awesome.
okay.
We are in the
Yeah,
same line of thinking.
exactly. Like that's exactly why I do most vertical shots is because I envision all of them as movie posters. And if they're movie posters, then I can eventually what I started doing was turning them into movie posters, and it's been a progression. Actually, when I started doing using photo mode, the first time I've ever used photo mode was with Shadow of
Oh,
Mordor, Shadow over.
oh. You don't
But I
have
used
you don't have it posted on Instagram or Twitter anywhere.
no. Like
You touched the next question, so I will go right
okay,
into it.
okay.
What got you started and what game got you started? Because I
I
scoured your Instagram from beginning to
yeah.
end. I saw all of your pictures on Instagram. It took me a long while,
Yes, I have a lot. I have
and
a lot.
and that's actually something that I was going to ask you, like, what game got you started, because it's not perceptible on your Instagram. What got you started?
Okay, because what actually got me started was Bioshock Infinite
Oh,
when it first came out on the PC. It was the first gaming PC I had, and it could run it at max settings. And I didn't knew I don't know. Maybe there was, I don't know, but I don't think there existed camera hacks back then. I just think you could disable the HUD, and I began taking just first person shots of the environments and just saving them. I actually have them on my personal Facebook. Those Bioshock shots from the intro, and I was like, this is cool. This is really cool. Maybe I'm gonna do it more. And it faded out, right? Then next gen came in, and it took me like a year to buy the PlayStation 4. And the first three games I bought was Arkham Knight, Shadow of Mordor, or Shadow of War. No, Shadow of War is the second one, right?
yeah, Shadow of Mordor is the first.
Shadow of Mordor was the first. It was the first three games I bought. And Famous 2, Shadow of Mordor, and Arkham Knight.
No, Infamous Second Son.
Yeah, Infamous Second Son. Yeah. Sorry, Infamous Second Son. And I actually didn't even touch the photo mode in Infamous Second
Me
Son. I
too.
didn't even knew it.
Me too. The first
And
time I
then
played it.
I just put on. Yeah, exactly. I it
What
was
is photo
until
mode?
like years later. Yeah, exactly, right? And then I sort of starting doing the same thing with games, sort of capturing with no HUD. And then for whatever reason, I discovered accidentally Shadow of Mordor's photo mode. I was like, this is so cool. And I began doing little experiments over filter shit, and like that first steps into virtual photography, that you're not actually thinking of photography, you're thinking of
Hey, this is a cool
uh,
screenshot.
yeah, exactly, you're thinking about a cool video game screenshot, right? So the whole point is then I went into Batman, and Batman was the game where I said, like, okay, Batman is my favorite hero. I grew up on Batman, and I'm a huge Batman fan. So I was like, shit, I'm gonna capture Batman, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. But it was still very basic. It was still, I wasn't still in the mentality of I'm actually. And this is funny because meanwhile this was happening, I was actually rolling a movie, a short film, which is actually upline somewhere, and it won a bunch of awards. I never thought to connect the two. I never was like, okay, let me just what I'm doing. I can transport it here. I was just doing video game screenshots, right? The concept of photography hadn't still sunk in. Then came Origins, which is, I think, the big game for a lot of people in the community. Like the big game that actually
AC Origins?
sort of, yeah, Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
Origins. It's a big game for a lot of people that actually get, and that's when I started.
It
That's
was
actually when I started.
it was definitely one of the booms. Like it was like AC, it's a really mainstream game. So when an AC game, a mainstream game shows up with a photo mode, like, oh, we have to do this. And yeah, it was one of the booms.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, I have this really cool idea. I have this collection of photos that I already have. Sorry, and I'm gonna start uploading it. I'm probably the first one to think of this. And when I start doing it, I find there's already a huge community doing this and call it virtual photography. I was like, no, it's not. I do photography. I physically do photography. This is not it. But I start seeing accounts. I start seeing people, and the first one that I actually want to mention here, because he showed me that I could do more with what I already have, was Memento Gallery.
Oh,
Uh, Memento, he all of a sudden this vertical crop images, and I'm like, yo, that's a poster right there. And I was like, but I don't like the Instagram thing, and I started doing my vertical shots, right? But what I started doing was cross stitched images. I would take like the lower part, move the camera again and again and
oh,
again, right?
yeah.
Like, and I would go into Photoshop and just stitch them together to create this huge, beautiful image. But then on Instagram, it would just, right?
Yeah, Instagram is it needs to
Yeah,
improve that still nowadays.
yeah, it's crazy, right? An image sharing soft app that has horrible image compression, whatever, right? So I don't want to go too much into it because I can go like an hour telling this story. But then I began noticing that I wasn't into landscaping, right? I wasn't into landscaping because my own real life photographies, it's not about nice, arrangements or nice, beautiful scenery. Sometimes it is, but my personal brand of photography and cinematography is stark, uh, close up first person portraits, action movements. I do a lot of skate photography. I do that a lot for a job I had. So that's something I really enjoy. So that's when I really, really learned to capture action and movement. And then came when I had to capture ballet.